This is a site familiar to millions of people on the vast post-Soviet territory, a standard microrayon. It consists of mass-produced buildings, mostly of 5-story buildings, but also 9, 11, 12 and 13-story buildings where very different people are crammed together under one roof. A student might live here next to a retired babushka, to a small business owner, but also next to a gastarbeiter and to an intellectual, a new Russian criminal, a housewife with a kid, and a young, prosperous corporate manager. Today, 80 million Russians live in mass-produced buildings. The famous Khrushchev invention, пятиэтажка, has been produced in many series, more or less popular. But in fact, all of them present rather poor living conditions and deteriorate exponentially. No secret that in 15-20 years, all standard housing built in the USSR before 1970s will expire. It is also interesting to note that the maintenance costs for these deteriorating buildings are incredibly high. Just one Khrushchev's пятиэтажка accounts for a loss of €30,000 a year in heating costs alone. Proportionally, it can be easily compared to a large-scale modern building. Let us introduce you to Igor Ivanich from municipality. Day and night he's had aches because of one leaking tap and one broken toilet valve and a few crippled window frames that simply refuse to hold in the heat. Oh, but in fact, because of thousands of taps, valves and frames that do not work all over the microrayon. To tell you the truth, microrayon today is a real vaporizer of municipal money. Meanwhile, the expert for the Russian government, one Vadim Viktorovich, is positive that by 2020, 60% of Russians will become a part of the middle class. He even suggests the new norm, 30 square meters per person, which, by the way, means 160 million square meters of new housing. This is indeed a lot. Well, we have nothing against this great plan. Our question is how to modernize the microrayon so it can fit into the future of Vadim Viktorovich. Now we're going to tell you a little secret. The microrayon modernization has already begun in 1990s when Oksana, who lived in a typical standard 5-story building, bought her first expensive French bra, for which she shelled out an equivalent of €60. After that, she bought many other exciting things: kitchen and domestic appliances, video and audio equipment, furniture of all sorts, carpets, curtains, plants, and many, many more. And she painted the walls, changed the floors, insulated the balconies, and many of her neighbors did pretty much the same. In the building, in the street, in fact, in the whole microrayon. And many microrayon inhabitants also bought new cars and put them into temporary metal garages called shells that they installed in their communal courtyards. This incredible swarm of new objects created a substance by far more vital and real than the very buildings that the substance filled to the brim. While the old casing of the Soviet microrayon kept deteriorating, its feeling, so to speak, kept modernizing vigorously. But at one moment, Oksana thought, for how long could things continue like this, and what exactly will she leave to her children? This is Andrei, a successful young developer. He is used to quick profits, and for some time he has been thinking, what is the best place for a tower in the microrayon? In fact, there is no such place there, for it was not designed to absorb new buildings. If Andrei persists against all odds and squeezes in a new tower, The effect will be that of a golden tooth in a rotting old jaw, maybe impressive, but not necessarily positive. Yet one moment, Andrei's life changes dramatically. He meets us, a group of Dutch-Russian architects and researchers who focus on the mass-produced architecture and see Microrayon not as a compilation of individual buildings, but rather as a complex urban structure with strong potential. Together with Andrei, we first looked in the direction of Europe, the favorite Russian source of inspiration. In Europe, it is common knowledge that reconstruction costs 30% less than the new construction. Architects here have already developed a whole catalog of tools for remaking mass-produced buildings into attractive modern dwellings. Such examples as Lacaton Vassal project, the cosmetic effect of before and after is especially clear. In Germany alone, about 26 million apartments have been reconstructed in this way, which amounts to a whopping 860 billion euro of federal investment. All these recent transformations in Europe are happening under the umbrella of sustainability, the notion yet to be properly translated into Russian. After Europe, together with Andrei, we have returned to Russia and reviewed the microrayon, focusing on the money flows that stream through it in the opposite directions. Andrei was very much impressed by this clear and simple picture of earnings and losses. We also took a closer look at all these incredibly diverse microrayon inhabitants and tried to imagine how would they live together in, say, 15, 20 years from now? We also had a sequence of quite interesting meetings with all parties involved. Viktor Vadimych, Igor Ivanich, Andrei, and also Oksana, who had come to be even prettier since 1990s. As a result of this research activity, Andrei decided to turn a standard Soviet microrayon into an absolutely fantastic place to live, and also to earn in about 20-30 years a legendary profit from this transformation. Now, attention please. To shake the microrayon out of its deep slumber, Andrei uses three main levers. Number 1, the amplifier. New grand apartment building is being constructed at the very edge of the microrayon. Half of it is assigned to the microrayon inhabitants. They move into the new flats. Another half is put on the market. Thus the building becomes half commercial and half social housing. Abandoned 5-story buildings are demolished, giving way to larger and denser housing development. The next phase is built in the same way. As more new apartments are given to the inhabitants, the reconstruction of the whole microrayon can start. Lever number 2, the sweetener. Could microrayon ever become an address for luxury living? Well, if the additions to the existing structures are made, and some of the inhabitants move into the new building, as shown in the previous scenario, the ground could be liberated for low-rise buildings, incidentally without decreasing the density of the whole neighborhood. Villas and daches in the city center, isn't it wonderful? Never attractive for well-to-do Russians, the microrayon suddenly becomes a hot spot in the city. This new typology will bring new inhabitants, new lifestyles, and a new urban scale. In a very short period, the microrayon history is immensely enriched and diversified. Last lever, the uniter. In this case, the microrayon people unite in the association of inhabitants and become collective owners of both land and buildings. Together with the developer, they add extra floors. By selling them on the market, they could finance the restoration of the buildings and the insulation of the facades. With the money saved on heating and with their own investments, they can build an open parking garage and clear the ground from cars. Now, here there is a perfect place for a new park. The park could become a source of their pride, but also a landmark for the whole microrayon. The Uniter gives hope that different people could unite in active communities without any coercion or forced ideology, but simply by common sense. Andrei's project is able to activate existing sources of energy in Microrayon, ones that have gone unnoticed so far. The construction of new housing slabs, villas, and additions makes the Microrayon an active part of the real estate market. It is possible to invest in it now. The installation of facades saves money. Organization of the communities allows people to become the true owners of their real estate, improve it, and plan its future themselves. But maybe somewhere in this beautiful landscape, one can spot an old 5-story building. Perhaps its inhabitants decide to reject Andrei's plan, and it will remind of the times of the economic recession of 2010, when no one wanted to think about the future of the Microrayon. But wait, we did.